we the only 3 board members here?
We're going to wait a few minutes to bring
President Margolis.
You have 3 board members online, and the rest are in the boardroom.
President Margolis, if please turn on your mic.
Is there anyone to promote?
Yes, I see that.
Okay, Elsie. All right. We have a quorum, so I'm going to call the regular open meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. It's a little after 9:30, and we're on air, and we'll go ahead. Elsie, can you go ahead and start the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is behind me, so we will look at that flag from the situation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Elsie. I want to acknowledge the media. Thank you very much for putting us on television and Zoom. We are trying to keep this, the numbers of COVIDs are going up so bad, so we are attempting to keep the meeting in Zoom a bit more because of the numbers. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? There is one change that we need to make. We need to put in on 13B a revision to the contractor's situation. I don't know what the... A revision to the contractor's violation policy. Can I have a motion to make that? Is Carl moved? Is there a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Neda. So is there anybody that objects to that? All right, it's by unanimous. Okay, we're on to the meeting minutes of July 13th, 2021. Is there any changes or edits that need to be made to the meeting minutes? If there are no changes or edits that need to be made, we'll move forward onto the chairman's remarks. Today, I want to take the opportunity to thank Brian Gilmore, the chair of our Architectural Control and Standards Committee, for his service to the United Mutual. This year, he and his committee have done an outstanding job for our community. They have teamed up with staff to efficiently address 3 important problems: the unacceptable backlog in manor alterations, which now has in place a permitless process to address the major part of the backlog; a serious look at the asbestos removal process, in which the committee has diligently worked to get the relevant parties to the table; a plan to support residents who have contractor problems, which we'll be addressing at this board meeting. Most of these important initiatives are succeeding due to his meeting these challenges with quiet patience, courtesy, and respect for the staff and to other board members. The general public may not know of his contributions because these quiet qualities he brings to our board as well. He has been a credit to our board, but he's abandoning us to move to third, so our board wishes to thank him and his service to our community. Next, I'd like to go on the ongoing problem with customer service. When the community center was reopened, the number of calls did not decrease, and the number of residents who came into the center has taken up the time of the same call answers. The low overload has led to an unacceptable slowness in responding to community calls. We've brought this up with staff who have determined that in order to service all the calls that are currently binging in, we would require another 10 staff members. Staff is working to get more staff and using a call center to take over the overflow. Here's how to improve your access to our staff. You could help us out by using the Laguna Woods Village portal to submit your work also. Also, it turns out that 50% of the calls are gate entry. There is a phone app that you could use to bypass the phone system for gate entry. You could use Dwelling Live, and that would relieve the staff. Don't know how to use these apps? Challenge yourself to look at the tutorials on the web for both of these products. Next, I want to address the escalation process. When you have a problem, the first thing you should do is submit a work order. You can do that through the portal or by calling resident service. If you do it through the portal, you will receive a confirmation and you can check on the status. If after 20 days, unless it's an emergency situation, you've not had a response, the reason why I picked 20 days is that staff is able to process 80% of the work orders in 20 days. You have a number of alternatives. The first alternative is to attend the resident advisory meeting. Email resident services at vmsinc.org, or as a last resort, call 949-597-4265. Complaining to board members may provide a solution, but directors do not do any plumbing, electrical work, or landscaping. Directors who promise they can solve your problems or hear your concerns are just putting them onto an overloaded staff. VMS is doing everything they can to take care of us, and we need to be appreciative of the work they do. And now for a dark secret. We're having trouble finding people who want to work here, and many leave because they state in their exit review the toxic workplace that staff members have to face because of discourteous comments directed towards them, not only from some residents, but on social media and in person, but even from some board members who have been allowed to harass with impunity. So we need to take care of this problem if we want to continue having staff. Now for the rumor of the day, the board is working to renew United Property Damage Insurance policy, but not at a full replacement cost coverage, which is required to sell loans to Fannie Mae. Because of this, NCB has decided to discontinue lending in United. United has not recently had full replacement cost insurance. The broker we are working with is telling us that would be near impossible to get that coverage. The cost would be exorbitant, which would be passed on to you by increasing your insurance contribution. The board will be working on relaxing its lender guidelines to allow a pool of lenders to lend in United. At this time, we will be going to cash-only sales like other co-ops in the area. Thank you very much for listening to me, and now we'll move on to the open forum. Do we have any questions? Grant.
Our first speaker is Rhoda Lindner, 2013C.
Good morning, everybody. I'm here today because my cul-de-sac is being painted this year, which is wonderful. We're all very happy. It's cul-de-sac 204, and I just got a notice that they're going to power wash my building next week. That's fine, too. However, nobody has said a word about the colors. At what point in the process do they ask us, or tell us, for that matter, what colors are going to be used? The main reason, that's why I came today. Once I got here, I saw the agenda, and it brought up a second issue. On the consent calendar, item B4. What you're doing there is consenting to a recommendation to deny tree removal. Now, if memory serves me, it may not, you may have changed it, and I didn't notice. If memory serves me, about 4 or 5 years ago, when Juanita Skillman was president, they made a rule that they would not put denials of landscape issues on the consent calendar. They would put them on as business. And if you change that, I apologize, but I hadn't heard it changed, and I think it was a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. We did change that. You did? Yeah. Jeff, do you have a schedule as to when they put the colors out, or?
I don't with me. I can get back to her, though, with
Yeah.
regards to that process.
Thank you. Do we have a next speaker, please?
I believe so. 1 second.
Grant, in the meantime, I can read the one that's been sent in via email.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Go ahead, Eileen, please.
Good morning. This letter is from Nancy Klein at 2051 Via Mariposa East. Unfortunately, I cannot share the pictures with you that she sent in, but her concern is one of the current walkways with 3 stairs to my front door and another of a possible site for some sort of walk without stairs. She's asking for a revision in the walkway to her unit. The walk could be made of anything deemed acceptable, and I would pay for it. My mobility has become impaired since looking for units months ago. I'm now using a walker and a 3-wheel mobility device, and the stairs make it very difficult to maneuver. Please let me know what I can do to help this process. Thank you very much, Nancy Klein.
And her unit number, please?
Her unit number is 2051-A.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is John Parker, 789Q.
Good morning. I apologize for being late, so I do not know what transpired before I arrived. I have heard, and it may be a rumor, that our primary lender for this community is no longer processing any loans on any property in United Mutual due to current insurance policies of United Mutual. If that is true, that means that no person in an escrow or wanting to sell their unit at this point in time, their property is literally unsaleable. And I think it's probably a result of some of the things that have occurred in Third Mutual. And it's also, but this is an untenable situation. And I hope that this fractured board of 11 discordant opinions can come to some kind of a solution, because this does not seem like something that we can endure in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. We're well aware of that, and one of my statements was that we were not going to be able to get full replacement cost coverage due to the way that the insurance is right now. We will be working to see if we can get relaxing its lender guidelines to allow a pool of new lenders in. But there are cash-only sales and other co-ops in the area, and we will be looking at that. If we could and were able to get full replacement, it would be pushed off onto you, and it would be similar to what Third is having to do. So if you want to pay an extra $100 a month in order to have be able to give out loans, we will need to have a full vote of that. And I thank you, but we're really, our hands are tied at this time.
If I can rebut, it is my understanding that the reason that we work with this particular lender is that it puts the HOA in first position.
Right. And we,
And none of the other lenders that we've ever talked to have been willing to give up first position.
and that is what we are going to look at removing.
And that is going to put this association in jeopardy of foreclosures and messes with the state. So if we think we have legal fees now, wait till that happens. It's been a tough stand to be in first position, but it's the most logical, sensible stand.
Yeah, and we have very few foreclosures, so it may be worthwhile for us
Because
to
we're in
do
first
that.
position, that's why.
Yeah, I understand and our hands are pretty well tied behind our back. Thank you, John.
We have their next,
Carl, go ahead.
Based on the information that I also read regarding this whole issue, it's my understanding that Fannie Mae is basically in the driver's seat here, whereby if there is not full replacement cost insurance, they will not be willing to accept the loan. And the issue right now is the fact that no matter what bank you go to or what lending organization you go to, Fannie Mae is always the one that basically gets the loans. So we can relax our requirements here, but I get this particular feeling that without the full replacement cost insurance, which is unaffordable, okay? I mean, you can see what happened with Third, and next year it's even going to be worse. We may never be able to get a lender here in this particular village, okay, because of the Fannie Mae issue and the fact that we need full replacement cost insurance. So that's another issue.
Okay. Go ahead. Next speaker, please.
Lou Sharkansky, 18E.
Good morning. I'm not a great speaker, but I'm curious. Over the last year and a half, many of our services were terminated. The clubhouses were closed. Activities were stopped. Staff was cut back. And at the same time, it seems every year our homeowner association fees seem to go up. It seems like you folks have been able to save some money during these cutbacks. And I know I speak for hundreds and hundreds of people that I've talked to in the last year who are very upset to see these increases. We feel that you folks should return some of the savings that you have incurred by the cutbacks. We'd like to know what you can do for us angry people that live here. What can be done to, rather than charge us more, where are these savings? Where are they going?
Okay. We have a budget meeting on Thursday, and I would like you to attend that. But first thing, it is illegal for us to return the savings. We put them into the reserve fund. They have to, and that cuts back on how much you have to pay because we don't have to increase the amount we put into reserve. Jeff, would you like to continue?
Yeah, to Lou's question. The other one is yesterday GRF had their budget meeting. And in fact, part of the process in GRF was they had $1.4 million worth of savings from 2020 when we were closed. And so they put that in their contingency fund, and then they used their contingency to lower the assessment by $8. So they did in fact do what you were suggesting. So that was part of the GRF budget process yesterday. They did leave some money in the contingency. They're also looking at 2021 money that is going to be saved because we still haven't fully operated yet. And that money will go back into contingency, and the GRF board can look at potentially, again, in 2023, using that to offset any type of increases that they may be looking at in 2023. So they are doing exactly what you requested. To the level, I think that's always the debate, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that there was $1.4 million that was saved and put into the contingency just for the purposes of addressing contingency issues and lowering the per man or per month for next year.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for coming this morning.
We have Richard Rader.
Richard, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something that was just brought up. The comment was made that the HOA fees are constantly increasing. Our HOA fees, just for informational purposes, consist of 4 things. 1, the United HOA fee. 2, GRF fee. 3 is insurance. 4 is taxes. The only thing that really we have control over, United Board members have control over, is your HOA fee. Your HOA fee did not go up in the past 2 years. It remained steady. What went up was insurance, taxes, and things like that for which we really don't have a lot of control. So when you look at, and I encourage everybody to go to attend the meeting this week, which the United Budget meeting will be formalized, take a look at what they're able to control. And remember, the only thing that you're paying for services, for mowing, maintenance, it comes out of that HOA fee, not your taxes, not GRF, and not insurance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dick, for that explanation. Carl, do you want to go ahead now with the response to the open forum?
I will. Madam Chair. Last meeting, there's a number of items that came up, and I won't go.
Microphone.
Good point, Elsie. You don't come to this room a lot, so you forget. A number of items were basically just issues that I won't go into because they were just basically some, they didn't have any specific issues of any significance. However, Harold Midens, 421B, commented that under PCM and before VMS, fees were lower, feels a higher level of service existed. Response: in United, monthly assessments increased on average 2.5% per year for the past 10 years. This increase primarily due to the employee compensation, which is in line with inflation. Regarding service levels, VMS has introduced to the community many additional enhancements and amenities, often at the request of board and residents. To avoid assessment increments, overall, all service areas are evaluated regularly, and where appropriate, some are reduced to offset increases. Service level changes are implemented in coordination with board approval and made annually, if not more frequently. Next one. Is Jennifer Z, 2218E. Item: expressed concerns about community safety and received towing of her golf cart, and recent towing of her golf cart. Security Department was in contact with Ms. Z when incident resident described occurred. Immediately following the board meeting, Chief Rojas spoke with Ms. Z to ensure she understood what occurred and to answer any questions. Golf cart was parked in another owner's carport on recommendation of her realtor. parking space owner called the tow truck to remove it as private property impounded, which owner has a right to do. Realtor may not give authorization to park in someone else's carport. When Ms. Z was parked underground at 2381, someone vandalized a windshield and driver door with gold spray paint. Security advised Ms. Z to contact the Sheriff's Department to make report to begin criminal investigation. No cameras are in the parking structure. No evidence was located. Paranaz Azarnia, 400N, expressed concern with landscaping, plumbing, and compliance clutter services. Response: all assigned to appropriate department division. Plumbing. Staff spoke with Ms. Azarnia. She has a concern with the tub spout as she had trouble using it properly and was frustrated by perceived low quality. Staff met with her on July 19th to review the proper usage. All materials used by maintenance crews exceed industry quality standards and are backed by good warranties. Under landscape, staff met with Ms. Azarnia, discussed shrub trimming to occur in August, overseeing an area of concern and planting foliage in the landscape area. Residents satisfied with items discussed. Regarding compliance, staff spoke with Ms. Azarnia. Appropriate disciplinary action initiated, including letter mail to member with compliance date. Disciplinary hearing will be scheduled if member does not comply. Next item. There's a lot of items last time. Renee Brock, 912N. Seeks explanation of proposed 2021 $20 assessment increase currently under board consideration. Response: the $24.44 per man per month increase, excluding GRF portion presented on July 15th, represented a $14.44 rise in operating costs and a $10 increase in reserve contingency fund contributions. The $14.44 per man per month operating cost increase was due to employee compensation and utilities. Employee compensation increase due mostly to minimum wage law adjustments, a 2.5% employee salary increase, and health benefits related cost increase. Utilities increase primarily due to rising water usage rates. Since the July 15th presentation, the United Board directed per man per month be reduced. The current 2022 United budget has an approximate $10 per man per month year-over-year increase in operating costs, with no change in the reserve and contingency fund contributions from 2021. And again, we'll talk about that at the budget meeting. Sandra and David Hosey, 84F, purchased a co-op in Laguna Woods Village in July 2016, and dues have already gone up over $100 per month. Raising them again is not a reasonable act. Some residents are on fixed incomes, and increased dues again can pose a hardship to those on a tight budget, especially older residents. It's hard to breathe when you talk. United monthly assessments have increased $104.24 from 2016 to 2021. Increase breakdown is as follows: $38.51 for operating costs, $30.83 property taxes, $28.60 property insurance, $6.30 reserve restricted fund contributions and GRF costs. Operating costs have increased 3.5% on average per year, most of which is attributed to annual 2.5% salary increases and rising health care costs. Property taxes increase each year as required by the County of Orange, and property insurance rate changes in the village are market driven. And you'll hear more about the budget at the budget meeting. And then I think the last one here is Elliot Al-Haldef, 2045-0. Requested an update on the lost instrument bond requirement. Specifically, United requires a member to obtain a lost instrument bond in favor of United before issuing a replacement membership certificate to the person claiming the membership certificate to be lost, stolen, or destroyed. President Margolis informed the member the item would be discussed in a closed session and he would receive an update thereafter. The item was discussed in a closed session, and I'm assuming that he received the update. And that's basically it with some of the nickel dime items, which I won't go into. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Jeff, you want to give the update on the paint?
Yes, to Ms. Lindner, the information that we have is that the paint colors haven't changed, and they are available for you to review in resident services. So if you want to go into resident services, which is across the hall, you can look at the paint colors, but they haven't changed.
That isn't the question. The question is whether they're going to ask each building what the paint color is.
Okay, we'll get that answer for you.
Okay, that closes out 7. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get Norm Kahn on the situation, so we'll go to the CEO report and continue to attempt to get Norm into the meeting. Thank you.
To the chair and members of the board and residents, good morning, everybody. Have a couple of updates real quickly and so to allow you to get to the rest of your meeting. Going to talk about good news first and then some other news with regards to COVID that I wish I didn't have to report. On the good news, as it affects potentially some of the members in United, you probably heard that we've had a big delay in getting the repairs done with Pool 1, but the boiler has been shipped, so we have a tracking of it. It is due to be here by the end of the week. We will install it as soon as it gets here, and we anticipate that with the installation and gearing it up and heating up the water, that will be in operation early next week with regards to Pool 1. So that's a big usage pool in our organization, so I just wanted to mention that. You mentioned the budget a couple of different times, both you and Carl in here. The budget meetings this week, GRF was yesterday. Yours is Thursday at 1:30 in the afternoon. It'll be a virtual meeting. We will go over what all of the adjustments that we've made since the last version and present that to the board so that the board can make decisions and give recommendations on where they want to go for signing off on the final version, which will be adopted at your September meeting. So look forward to a discussion on that. Wanted to mention that again, at the last meeting I indicated that a number of our M&C managers are coming on board or have come on board. Our new director will start next week. And so we're pleased that we're moving forward in the hiring process of a number of the managers within M&C, which will help our operations extensively. And then I wanted to mention that we continue to work with our finance team to not only do the budgets, but also working on implementation of a number of activities that have been requested by United to look at tightening up our process with regards to the civil code. And we continue to do that, as well as also reimbursement of some action. So I want to thank board member Manny Almerderis for working with Steve Hormuth and our team with regards to working on those activities. And that's it for my report, and I'll turn it over to Siobhan.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few quick announcements this morning. The first comes from the Orange County Vector Control District. They're reminding us that with mosquito season underway, the Aedes daytime biting mosquito is active in our area. They are calling on residents to help increase awareness and take measures to help reduce the population of mosquitoes. Their tagline is to tip, toss, and take action. Tip out standing water weekly, toss unneeded containers, and take action and apply repellent to exposed skin while outdoors. There is a service request form on the district's website if you are having particular problems with mosquitoes, and they will send their technician out to assess the situation and take necessary action. Secondly, just wanted to remind the residents that our Manor Alteration Division is currently experiencing COVID-related staffing impacts, and the office is closed to in-person appointments and foot traffic until the division is able to once again provide adequate staffing. When the office reopens, service will be provided on an appointment-only basis. Residents with scheduled appointments will be contacted by staff via telephone or email to receive service, and residents may contact Manor Alterations at 949-597-4616 or via email at alterations@vmsinc.org with any questions. And lastly, if you're looking for a unique yet close-by excursion that involves fresh air, nature, and animals, why not take a tour of our very own equestrian center? The tour schedule is Wednesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 12:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. No reservations are necessary, but closed-toed shoes are required to interact with the horses. Every tour features a photo opportunity with a GRF-owned horse at the conclusion of the event. And that concludes my announcements this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the consent calendar? Carl has moved. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, Cash. Is there anybody that wants to vote against the consent calendar? The items on the consent calendar? All right. We'll move on to unfinished business. Consistent with the statutory obligations of 5501, Azar, I see that you're on board. Were you able to review that? Diane, have you reviewed the Civil Code 5501, please?
Yes, I have, and
Okay. We will accept that. I don't know if Azar can hear us or not. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, I can see, but I didn't have any access to them.
Okay, you didn't have any
From
access,
internet.
that's fine. I understand that. Thank you. All right. Next is the motion resolution. Manny, do you want to vote against the 5501, please? Go ahead, Manny.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I reviewed most of the financial information provided, and although we made some improvements, there's still two major deficiencies. One is that as the assessments are collected, they're not split out, and the reserve amounts don't go directly into that separate account. And for some reason, they are still including the contingency fund in with the operating bank account, and they shouldn't be. So for those reasons, I have to vote against 12A.
Okay, thank you. So now we're moving on to 12B. Can I entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to update the financial requirements for membership? Elsie?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Well,
Do you want to go over it a little bit, please?
no, just to remind people that this is just clarifying that retirement accounts counted into an applicant's assets, in order to count for the full amount, they must to be withdrawn in a lump sum for that amount, not for a smaller amount. But it's just a little clarification. That's all. And I move that we accept this correction. It's a correction to the financial requirements for membership.
I second it.
Carl seconds it. Is there anybody that wants to vote against it, please raise your hand. It's passed unanimously. Thank you.
I want to ask a question. Is this a new resolution or is this just amendment to the resolution?
It was put on 28-day notification, and we went over it last time in depth with Pamela.
Yeah, my question is this a new resolution or is this amended to an existing resolution?
It is a new resolution with minor changes for clarification. It changes none of the financial requirements.
Okay, so are we dissolved the old resolution on this case, in this case?
Yes, we have a new resolution. It will go on the resolution list with the clarifications that have been put in. And it, what is your vote, Andre?
I'm for it, but my question is this also dissolve the old resolution? Because if it's amended, then we don't have to dissolve the old one. It's amend to the old one. But if it's a new resolution, we have to dissolve the old one.
We will resolve the old one.
Sue, that is stated in the body of the resolution that the prior resolutions are hereby suspended and canceled.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right, good. Good, thank you.
Okay. Diane and Elsie, did you review the payroll reserve?
Well, I don't like to speak for Diane, but I believe I can, that we looked at what was submitted by, but we weren't supposed to start signing anything. That's what this resolution's about. We did look at the report that was issued by Finance, Steve and Jose, but we aren't supposed to sign anything yet. That's what this resolution will do, will be to set up if this new format is sufficient for whoever requested it. I forget at the finance meeting. I like the 3 months in a row. Those, if you looked at it, it lists the payroll checks written out of reserve account, and then the 3 months breaks it down into specifically what project each check was written out of, and then there's a more massive, more in-depth detail that accompanies it, and then there's a signature place. But so yes, we looked at it, but as far as reviewing it and signing it, no, because my understanding is that doesn't start until we approve this.
Okay.
That signature process.
Thank you, Elsie. Is there anybody that votes against approving the payroll from reserve forms that have been produced? Carl, go ahead.
Is this a resolution right now? Because it looks like a verbal thing. It's just a staff report in the thing, okay?
Yeah, it's a staff report that they have.
So, I mean, what are we, we're not really approving anything, are we?
Well, we're
This is
approving the
just-
forms that they put together, and we did that in the Finance Committee, so I think we'll move forward, and next month we will get the sign off on it. So I don't know that there's anything we need to do this month.
Well, I mean, that's my point right now.
Right.
I'm not just seeing what it is that we're being asked to do with this particular case.
No.
So.
Okay.
Yes, I think there's I'm sorry, I think there's oh darn it, I found it, under 13, no, it's not, I'm sorry, 12C. There's a page attached to it like there is those other things that we have to sign off of for 5,500 and stuff. Here it is on page 16 of 16.
President Margolis, this is a receive and file informational report.
Okay, it's a receive and file informational report.
Yeah, so
And we'll
there's
go
no
on and
approvals or
receive it
anything.
and file it. Thank you. We're moving on.
And are we going to start signing it or not?
You're fine. We're all set. We're done. Okay, so NormCon has come on to the system, so we'll go ahead and get the VMS report now. Thank you. Go ahead, Norm.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Well, sorry for the delay, folks. It wasn't my fault this time. But good morning, Madam President, directors, and members. As one of your 3 United Directors on the VMS board, I'm pleased to bring you the latest news on an important project currently in the works at VMS. It has a support committee of 9 representatives from VMS, United, Third, and GRF, as well as paid VMS staff. This important first-time project is an all-new inclusive manual for new and current directors of all the village boards, as well as for the residents, both new and current, of Laguna Woods. It's a huge undertaking, and it's headed by VMS staff member Susan Logan McCracken, who is our communications specialist in our media and communications department, which is headed by Eileen Paulin. The first draft was presented by Susan to our committee's first review meeting on Monday, August 2nd, last week. It's a voluminous 220-page preliminary draft, which covers all aspects required to be a knowledgeable director, as well as other information, of course. It also includes a massive amount of data concerning the operational workings of Laguna Woods. The manual includes, along with so many other items, the Board of Directors Code of Ethics and Behavior, expectations and independent duties as a board member, along with village policies, procedures, rules of compliance and teamwork, etc. It is actually designed to be a very thorough training course for not only all directors, new and existing, but also those who might be thinking of becoming a director. It is critical that all directors really understand the workings of departments, their relationships, and of course, all the goals, our goals. As a general result of the quantity and quality of the information and operational data in the manual, it can be sectionalized by category for multi-purpose use of members and residents as well. It will include subjects like security, information on moving in or out of Laguna Woods, things like how to deal with challenging situations that come up in our village, or how to contact various departments to report, complain, or inquire about something, anything. All of these items will be covered in the manual, so that it becomes somewhat of an all-purpose manual. It will also be the very first of its kind to cover many avenues of proper and honest communication between boards and members and vice versa. In any large community like our village, calm and respectful communication is very critical. Those of us on the committee are rightfully excited about this major innovation and are really looking forward to the completion of some sections and partial publication, hopefully within the next 2 months. That, folks, completes my report, and I'm be more than happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Are there any questions? Andre, please go ahead.
Yes, the board doesn't get involved in this one, but in the past, we've heard that there's a staff shortage there. And I understand sometimes it's not because we don't have enough staff on payroll, but because they are having, difficulties, injuries, vacations, that kind of thing. So I'm asking, does VMS track incidents report or staffing percentage report? And if so, can we share with us? So when we see the percentage exceed some threshold, we know that we will have staffing shortage. Okay. Another issue is that I've been talking about a training report and the program. What kind of training programs are we planning to provide staff opportunity to improve their efficiency and effectiveness, and also improve the service, bring us up to par with best practice standards? So the staff shortage report and training report are the two things I'm asking if VMS has readily available this information to share with the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre.
Well, concerning
Norm, you don't need to
personnel
answer. Go ahead, Norm.
Okay. Well, if I don't need to answer, I won't.
Okay.
I guess I'm not asking for individual personnel's sickness. I'm asking for statistics of, like, for example, we have 500 people in landscape, maybe 400 employees in the landscape, and how many of them are working on certain days or certain week, the percentage. If it's 80%, then we know we are short of
Okay,
staff.
Andre, I think we understand your request, and we will be taking it up with the VMS board.
Yeah, don't take it as a privacy issue. This is not a privacy issue.
No.
I'm not the HR department, Andre, so I don't have information about staffing and employees and numbers and things like that. That's not my responsibility.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Let's move on.
We do have a resident comment on this.
Maxine, please come on up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. I'm lost. I wish more of our members were here instead of at home. Who has been speaking on this issue? I look up there and I cannot tell who's speaking. Before Andre, who is presenting this business?
Norman
Kahn, Director of
Kahn.
Norm Kahn, K-A-H-N.
Thank you. And I hope eventually we go back to reinforcement on the screens as to what issue we're discussing and how it fits on the agenda. That would help a lot, because this gets rather confusing. As soon as you bring the picture up, it looks like the wrong name is underneath because it shows up better than the actual name. So maybe there's a way to make that easier for us. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. Okay, we're moving on now to 13, new business. 13A is entertain a motion to introduce a resolution for financial requirements for members with guarantors. Elsie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is another clarification. The resolution is just there to incorporate the clarification with the existing financial requirements for members. It's just another, a small change, but a crucial one. I've got the staff report right here. Staff recommends this revising the financial requirements for members with guarantors in order to provide clarity. The financial qualification policy establishes a minimum annual income and asset base for a prospective shareholder when a guarantor is obtained. It has been reduced from the standard requirement of a minimum annual income of $40,000 and the asset base equal to the cost of purchase plus $125,000. The current financial qualification policy includes the following language. I'll just drop down. Most of us know that guarantors have to have more income and more assets in order to be guarantors because, of course, they're handling their own business plus the person they're guarantoring. So the critical part here is the language for the assets is the minimum verifiable liquid marketable and or income producing assets of $75,000 at the close of escrow. The income and assets of the guarantor are not a substitute for the minimum income and assets needed by the prospective shareholder. The language of Section 2 has resulted in misinterpretation of the policy by real estate agents and escrow officers alike. Staff calculation of a prospective shareholder's financial qualifications. Now, this is if you have a guarantor, require the buyer with a guarantor to have a purchase price plus $75,000 remaining after purchase. In other words, people that want guarantors have to have a minimum level of income and assets, and that's always been that way. And it's greatly reduced from what they would otherwise be required to have. Some argue, however, that the policy doesn't specifically say so, although the original intent was to have the requirement mirror transactions by buyers without a guarantor. These situations have arisen when the prospective shareholder cannot demonstrate that he has sufficient assets to make the purchase. Revising the language of 2B will provide clarity and transparency to those who cannot meet the standard income and asset requirements, but could do so with the aid of a guarantor. It is recommended that the requirement state the following: minimum verifiable, liquid, marketable, and/or income-producing assets of at least $75,000 plus the manor purchase price. And this actually reflects the language for non-guarantor buyers, which is an asset base equal to the cost of purchase plus $125,000. And for, if they need a guarantor, we want it to mirror that and say income producing assets of at least $75,000 plus the purchase price. Doing so complements section 3, which states the income and assets of the guarantor are not a substitute for the minimum income and assets needed by the prospective shareholders or occupants. And with the committee, the Governing Docs Committee, endorsed this after much discussion and much wordsmithing. We endorsed it unanimously, and without objection, the committee recommends the board revise the guarantor section of the financial qualifications policy specific to section 2B to read as follows: shareholder financial requirements for the occupying shareholder when they have a guarantor, A, minimum annual income of $24,000, and B, minimum verifiable, liquid, marketable, and/or income-producing assets of at least $75,000 plus the manor purchase price. And that's just replacing the old language. And all it is replacing the old language of at least $75,000 at the close of escrow. So the policy's always been the same, but the language hasn't been as clear. So can I
Go ahead and
make a
move.
motion?
Say so moved.
Okay, I move that we accept the recommendations of staff and the, mainly the Governing Docs Committee.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
We need a
First, we
second.
need a second, and then we can have questions. Is there a second? Carl seconded. Go ahead, Reza.
Let's see, if somebody wants to buy a house with a guarantor, both issues have to be, he's got to have is it that he's got to have the price of the house plus 125,000 plus 75,000?
No, I'm sorry, Reza. It's the cost of the manor plus 75,000. So that's a reduction of $50,000 in required assets.
Okay, so what it means that if he's got a guarantor is the qualification decreases.
Yes, if you have a guarantor.
Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, is there anyone that wants to vote against this? Please raise your hand. Okay, it's passed unanimously. Now, the next one, Brian's not here, Carl.
I don't know. Last time Brian tried to get into the queue, but he wasn't down. We had Brian and June, okay, maybe that's, he was here before as Brian Gilmore, but I don't know what happened. Can you check to see if he's in the queue?
I do see somebody has raised their hand, and their name is June. That's why I was
Okay,
bringing
that's
him over.
Brian. Please put him in. Bring him in, please. Brian, I'm sorry, we missed you. We're now on to 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. I changed the screen to suit a meeting we have with June. So I'll appear as June to me.
Okay, well, we'll call you June from now on. Thank you. No, Brian, we're on to,
Brian, do you want to present? Do you want me to help you present? What would you like to do?
we're on to 13B, which is the contractor.
I'll give us. Yeah, I'll give a summary. Carl, please feel free to chime in, and Robbie, if you're online, please add as well and maybe summarize. This is a resolution that was approved yesterday in a special meeting of the ACSC to really do deal with contractor violations. And we've been through a long thought process in this. It's been through several iterations with the attorneys. And this is where we sit as far as the process could manage. What I mean by that is this might not be perfect, might not be the ideal one where everyone would want it to get to, but I would consider this to be a first step. And some people, some board members would like to see a penalty or a financial responsibility clause actually inserted. That could be in progress very soon, given some recent indications, and that requires further discussion. So this is really a two-tier system, and there's minor violations and then the in severe violations. And Robbie's laid that out pretty well. And what it could ultimately lead to is anything from come in and talk to us, and that means Robbie, or come to the ACSC committee and make your case, or a suspension of the ability to work in Laguna Woods Village. So, you know, that is in effect suspending an income stream. So that's a pretty severe, and I don't want to use penalty, but that's a pretty severe condition placed upon someone for flagrant violations of the United Mutual rules. But that doesn't consider the cost that could be incurred through a contractor violation, and that will be a subsequent resolution forthcoming as it develops through our discussions with our attorneys and Robbie's department. Carl, if you have anything else to add, please do.
Yeah, if I might, I'd just like to say that this violation policy didn't exist before now. People in United have asked for it because we felt that some of the contractors that come to work in this particular arena, Laguna Woods Village, do violate certain rules and regulations and what have you, and they're not made responsible for whatever they do. So the violation policy was asked for by us, meaning the Manor Alterations Committee. We went to Manor Alterations, they put it together, we made some comments, and as a result of that, this is what it is here. So this is a very, very, very good step to basically hold the contractors accountable for things that they may do, because we have some unscrupulous contractors that come into this community, and even though we have no control over contractors, we should be able to have some sort of a thing whereby we prevent them from working here. And then the other thing right now is the fact that since we came up with this, certain directors felt that we got told by our lawyers we could not find these people, but we could throw them out, okay? But the other issue was if they do damage, right now the resident is responsible for the damage or any specific things to make the remediation for asbestos or whatever things right. And a lot of the directors felt that that was unfair to the residents because they're not always in the know as to what's going on. So as a result of that, excuse me, we felt that maybe we could put that next step into this. But to put that next step into this that specifically addresses us asking the contractors to pay for whatever repairs or whatever specific things for remediation that are required is a big process for us to do. We do not have the people to do that, but we could look into that. So at this particular point in time, this particular violation policy went from 0 to where it is now, which is tremendous, whereby we now can throw these guys out of the community if we approve this today. And then the next step would see as to how we could possibly have them pay for some of the damages. that were required. And that's the intent right now, like as Brian had said. This is a very good first step. We want to get this passed, and then we'll go to step 2 to see what we can do to make that next step possible. And at this particular point in time, I move this resolution.
I have a question.
Come forward and read the resolution for these people.
I have a question.
We need a second, Reza. Before you can ask a question, we need a second.
Is there a second? And then Robbie's going to read the resolution.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Elsie. Can you put it back up? We don't have any.
I've got it here. Do you want me to read it?
No.
Okay, Robbie's going to read. Fine.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
It's on page 15 of 16.
Okay.
It starts with all those whereases.
Okay. Carl, go ahead and read it.
Okay. Resolution, contract of violation policy. Whereas the purpose of the contract of violation policy is to enact a unilateral and unambiguous matrix of penalties for contractors who violate current mutual rules and obligations or exceed the scope of approval for a project. And whereas this resolution would make the contract of violation policy permanent and provide a clear template for invoking penalties, inclusive of temporary or potentially permanent suspension from work within the Laguna Woods Village, reduction of MC or MC lifespan to 90 days, superseding resolution 0102-159. And whereas on August 9th, 2021, the United AC, SC, and Manor Alterations agree that the contract of violation policy will be effective, and both recommend the approval by the United Mutual Board. Now therefore be it resolved on this date, the United Board hereby approves the contract of violation policy as attached to these minutes. Resolve further that Resolution 0102-159 adopted in 2002 is hereby canceled and superseded, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I, again, move this resolution. And I would like to add one thing which I forgot to add, is that in the Exhibit A, which is part of the attachment, which is part of the violation policy, it specifically indicates in there, subject to contract of violation policy. And by the way, in order to, when the contractor signs the manor consent form, which they have to do in order for them to do any work in this Laguna Woods Village, they are then specifically saying they adopt Exhibit A, and Exhibit A has a bunch of things. And in there, under there, it says item number 7, it says subject to contract of violation policy, shareholder and contractor shall be responsible for all activity by contractors, subcontractors, material suppliers, and their employees and agents, and by any others who perform work on the property, including any violations of the mutual governing documents, including but not limited to traffic, parking violations of clean job site, use of mutual property for storage of equipment, approval. Shareholder acknowledges and agrees that all such persons, his or her invitees, shareholder shall be responsible for informing his or her invitees. Anyway, it goes on. What it doesn't specifically say is that, which is what we're going to try to do with this, is add the clause in here that specifically says that if the contractor is found to be liable for the work, then any damages would be met by him or her, the contractor. However, that has a lot of legal ramifications, and we need to basically look at that a lot closer. But right now, item 7 is generic. It doesn't specifically address the things that we may want to add.
Okay, are there any arms up?
Yes.
Okay, who's in order? Do you have an order for me, or let's go ahead? I'll do across the screen. Reza first.
I saw something from our lawyer, Jeff, this morning, stating that we can penalize the contractor. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, we have to look at the.
We're not going to
rate-
penalize him. We could charge him for the costs associated for the repairs and the remediation. However, that is not in here yet. It's generic, it's not specific.
We have not been able to look at the cost and the return on investment and there's a number of things but the committee will continue to look at that.
Yes, but also there is another problem here. What Carl read is correct, but the consent form in the resolution about demolition makes again the resident responsible. So there is a conflict here between what's stated and what's said. I make a motion to move this back to the committee to discuss it again and include the comment from our lawyer in it, so we don't have to go back and forth on it.
Okay, a motion has been made. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll take.
On the floor.
Unfortunately, a motion preempts discussion. Okay, we'll take a vote on moving it back to committee. I'm going to do a head count.
Sue, may I add some comments, please?
I can't give you comments until we vote on the motion. Do you want to vote on the, you can comment on moving it back to committee only.
No, you have discussion before you vote.
Yes,
okay?
We're voting on whether we,
Manuel,
are you?
I want to add comments on the first.
Okay.
There's been no second on Ray's motion.
There was
I'll second Reza's motion.
Okay, Elsie, you go first on your comments, and then Manuel.
I haven't seen the comment from the attorney, and of course I respect the council's opinion and advice always. But I just want to point out that Section 12 of the occupancy agreement of our governing docs is very, very specific about who's responsible for all costs related to alterations, and that is the resident. So if this goes anywhere, I just want, it's going to require, and this would not be a clarification or a Scrivener error. This would be a major change to this mutual's not longstanding from its initiation policy of holding the resident responsible and for all costs related to alterations.
Okay,
and if
the
that's gonna
current
change,
one does not
no, wait,
contain.
excuse me, then that's going to require a membership-wide election to
Thank you.
change those.
Elsie, the current one does not have that in, so as we said, we would want to go back to committee, and it would take months to get this through. I want to take
but see, I still think we should be voting on the very first motion, or else withdraw the motion and then entertain a new motion. But,
Unfortunately,
so
I have a motion on the floor to move it back to committee. We need to vote on that. Manuel, you can go. The rest of you, I will not call on until we vote on that, on whether to send it back to committee.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, first of all, I've gone through all the documents that we got at the last minute. It was 26 pages. I read through it all, okay? I think that this would be a good step. However, it's not complete. I've seen emails going back between the attorney, Carl, Brian, and in reading all the documents, I have a bunch of questions. For example, there are rules and regulations that supposedly the contractor is subject to. However, this new policy, he would have to sign a document saying he's subject to penalties, okay? I haven't seen a document that clearly defines what that would be like.
No, it didn't.
Like, this document is supposed to provide us with a means to remove him as a contractor that's available. Again, I read through everything in these questions. Where's it? Carl mentioned, or somebody mentioned that the step that needs to be taken in coming up with the language for the violation policy. So at this point, this is a very incomplete document, as good as it might be.
Okay,
Carl
thank
said
you
it's
for
the
your
first
input.
step.
We're moving on now. It is not
So,
incomplete. It
it
has
needs to
got
back-
that penalty in it. Carl, do you want to answer where the penalty is, please?
Under the mutual consent for demolition, and I'm meant to understand, based on the information I received from Robbie, the violation policy and the Exhibit A will be attached to this mutual consent for demolition. As is indicated, it states, I have received, read, understand, and agree to the follow and confirm to all current mutual standards, rules, and regulations. In addition, I certify that I, as a contractor, licensed permanent pursuant to the laws of the state of California, and agree to perform the work subject to the terms and conditions printed in the reverse side of this application, and the reverse side of that application will contain the violation policy and the Exhibit A according to that violation policy. Is that not correct, Robbie?
That is correct.
So therefore, everything that's in that violation policy, which concerns the penalties, and there's no financial penalties here, because financial penalties, we were told by our lawyer, we cannot fine these people, we can only throw them out. The other issue would be reimbursement for damages and remediation. That is the issue that's on the table. However, if you read item 7 in the exhibit, it puts the onus on both the contractor and the resident. And at this particular point in time, I mean, I don't know how much more complete we can get with this, unless Brian has any additional comments on it. I don't know what else to say. Yes, it does not say that we will then go and bring these people to small claims court and reclaim all the damages that they've done. But at this particular point in time, we do have in there that they are responsible, both them and the resident are responsible for anything that they do in the community. And that signature block specifically tells them that they have to read that attached document, and they're responsible for everything in that attached document, which is the violation policy itself.
Okay, we're going to take a quick vote if whether to go back to committee or not, and then we're going to go on depending on what it does. Carl, no for committee?
No for committee.
Brian?
No.
Elsie?
No.
Netta?
Yes.
Manuel?
Go back to committee, yes.
Diane? Diane?
Yes, yes.
Cash?
Yes.
Reza? It's back to committee. This was supposed to be a first step, but I guess we're not going to make it. Reza?
Yes.
Andre?
Yes.
Okay, it goes back to committee. We're done for today. Thank you, everyone. Unfortunately, we were hoping this would be a first step that we would move forward, and then the committee could go forward with the next step, but it didn't pass. So let's move on to the committee reports. Hazar has disappeared, okay. All righty. Can you bring up the slides for the finance? I gotta find the notes. We worked really hard. We were hoping to get that through, but I gather that there's too much to go on. Okay, our treasurer had a problem and is out of country, so I will be giving the finance report. Through the reporting period of June 30th, 2021, the revenue was 23.1 compared to expenses of 20.2, so we have a almost $3 million net revenue. In finance, slide 2, please. We keep a close eye on the operating portion of our finances. The operating fund without depreciation shows 1.04 through the reporting period of positive. The chart shows how much revenue went into operations, incoming and assessments, 714 coming from non-assessment review. This is compared to the operating expenditures of 16.5 without depreciation. Next slide, please. This slide 3 is a chart. Well, okay, this chart takes the full income statement and compares those results to budget. We can see that United is better by 3,951K when between operating and reserve. So we have a positive thing. Okay, slide 4. The most significant variance from budget is attributed to outside services. We spread everything across the year, and some of the things don't get started until later in the year, so they will catch up eventually, we hope. Employee compensation is favorable in the departments of M&C and landscape. Where Shedbred, in landscape, we've outsourced some of the work for shrub bed maintenance. In M&C, we switched the painting from a 10-year to a 15-year, and so which has made 5 full-time equivalents removed in painting and 1 in carpentry. Property Service Work Center also had a favorable variance due to open positions and recruitment is going on. Next slide. Materials and supplies were favorable because we haven't, some of the residents are not allowing us to enter, such as water heaters and refrigerators. In addition, there's shortages of materials and appliances caused by the distribution centers. COVID-19 has made it difficult to get things here. Programs like washing machines, dryer replacements are budgeted evenly throughout the year, but the replacements occur at random. Okay, our legal fees are 90K over, and it's or 90K positive, excuse me, and that's it fluctuates from year to year, and it's hard to budget. So the things that are unfavorable are unrealized gain and loss on investments, and it's due to the adverse conditions of the bonds right now in the reporting period, and it will fluctuate. It's gone up and down. And then also the utilities, and that's unfavorable because we haven't had much rainfall, and the water consumption and the water prices. June was 38% lower than the 5-year average during the same period. So it's been much drier. Rainfall was 38% lower. It's not a great thing for us, no. Slide 5, please. Boy, there's something here. On this pie chart, we show that the non-assessment revenues were $794. The unrealized gain loss on sales investment. So it's really 508 because of the unrealized. And this is sort of messed up slide. I don't know what happened to this, but most of the money, the leasing fees, so forth, we'll have to figure out what happened here. But the big chunk is, I can't even tell. What is the big chunk? Does anybody, can you tell on your screen, Grant? No. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. This one we can.
Most of the time is the staff compensation. The big chunk, most of the time is the
It's compensation and tax taxes, outside services. Okay, so one is taxes and what's on outside services, and we'll have to figure out why we did. But you can see that water has cost us over $1 million this month, and it is really expensive, and we are really in need to do something about that. And bucket showers, everybody. Slide 8, please. Okay, this is the one that really shows you where it is. So, because the taxes are taken out. So employee compensation is 48%, water is 15%, insurance is 14%, outside service 8%, materials and supplies 8%, and net allocations from the other is 5%. So this is really the really where the money is going. And you can see that we are a service organization, and 48% of it is employee compensation. Okay, let's go to slide 8. This is the various funds. You can, we're in great shape as far as reserve. We have 21 million. Property tax, we have $56 in it. So you can see that we need to collect the property tax to pay our bill in December. Contingency, we have been adding money in, and we have $738,000 there. So the contributions, investments collected are $5,195 for reserve. So it is going up with a only expenditure of $3,650. All right, we paid our property taxes, and that's how we got $56 left over. Slide 9, please. So we're above past years in our replacement fund. We're in really good shape. You can't see the property tax because it's $56. Our contingency fund is growing again finally after we depleted for the solar panels, and we're in good financial shape. And slide 10, please. Resales are going out of the sky here. Prices have increased. We are seeing a wonderful time. I don't know what effect this cash only will do, but we will be seeing some results from that. There are other co-ops that are cash only, and they say at first you get a slight decrease and then it stabilizes being cash only. So we may see a slight decrease due to the situation with loans. And that is the financial report. Thank you.
It looks like Director Akrakar has a comment.
Okay. Cash, go ahead.
Yeah, the tax that you're showing $56 is actually, the chart says figures in thousands, so it's $56,000, right?
No, it's $56 because we just paid the $6 million bill.
No, but the slide
Oh, it
shows
says
that the figures are in thousands.
56,000. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. It's 56,000. Correct. Thank you for the correction. But it's still not enough to pay a $6 million bill that we'll have. Thank you. Okay, Brian, you're on for the architectural report. Okay, June has left us and Brian is here. Carl, you want to quickly just read?
No, I'm sorry. I'm
okay, go ahead, Brian, please.
I didn't. Yeah, we had a ACSE meeting, and at that meeting we've had two. One was on July 19th. The other one was last week, special meeting. And a major topic of both those meetings was this contractor violation business. So that motion didn't pass, but it has been considered, and it's better to bring it forward and try than not to try. So that will be new business for coming in starting August 19th. will be the next meeting, and that could be on the agenda for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you heard my thank you from the beginning of the meeting. All right. Next is member hearings. Elsie, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay, member hearings. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, the member hearings were held on July 22nd. There were seven hearings and one update. One was a delinquency hearing, 3 were clutter, 2 were water intrusion complications, and 1 was a vicious dog bite. The next hearings will be held virtually on August 26th. Thank you.
At 9 a.m. Thank you. Governing docs now, Elsie. You got your next one?
Yep. Just a minute. Let me go back to full screen. There we go. The Governing Documents Review Committee of the United Laguna Woods Mutual met on Thursday, January 15th, 2021. One of the things we discussed was the item that we voted on today relative to the changed language in the financial requirements, not changed, but revised language in their financial requirements. We went over the status of 2021 committee goals again, which are coming right along. Including the financial requirements clarification, which I just mentioned. The director's SOPs are being consolidated. A one-page explanation of resident procedures by advisor Mary Stone was presented and accepted. The date of the next meeting is August 19th, 2021 at 1:30 in the afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, the Landscape Committee was held on July 8th at 2021. We reviewed the trees that needed to be, whether they should be removed or not. We voted against removing 6 trees, and the 3 trees that were upsetting the sidewalk, we voted to have removed. There was a presentation of Arbor Pro, of the information there, and how it has made the department more efficient in using outside sources to do our tree trimming, and it was a very good presentation. The next meeting will be held August 12th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. as a virtual meeting. Carl.
The United M&C Committee met on June 23rd, and at the last board meeting, I indicated what had gone on at that meeting. Our next meeting is August 25th at 9:30.
Okay. Netta?
We don't have any meeting, and we didn't do any schedule for the next time too.
Thank you. Okay, Carl, GRF Finance, please.
The GRF Finance Committee met on June 23rd, and at that last board meeting, a report was presented for that meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for August 25th at 1:30 p.m.
Andre, GF Strategic.
Yeah, Strategic Committee met on July 8th, on the June 28th, and discussed several issues. So we talked about the direction will be structure plans to resolve 90% of the resident services issues online within the next 5 years, and transitioning residents to online services. We're talking about incentivize and encouraging residents to do so, and the support and education, and to monitor the progress. We also agree that the ultimate solution is a new HOA ERP system where one logon provides access to online services. We also discussed a few facility alternatives. Oh, by the way, the pilot programs will be done on Ticket Pro, 4UP, and the courts for ticket sales, golf tee time, and the court swim reservations. We also talked about facilities, potential new facility places, and how to rearrange them to improve our facility services. But those are very preliminary, and I don't want to share too much information to confuse people at this point. There's nothing chiseled in stone, and it's just a discussion of alternative studies. Okay, that will be the report of this strategic planning committee.
Okay, and would you give the CAC, please?
The CAC meeting met on July 8th. It's a boardroom and a virtual meeting, and we discussed quite a few things. Let me go through the list that we need to do. Basically, we have. Hold on one second.
Okay, we'll come back to you, and let's go on to GRF's landscaping. Manuel?
Okay, thank you.
The last GRF Landscape Committee was held on June 9th, 2021, and I reported the results of that meeting at the last board meeting. These meetings are only held quarterly. So the next meeting is scheduled for September the 8th, 2021 at 1 p.m. as a virtual meeting. And the only other comment I have is that I am sorry to see that we're scheduling so many virtual meetings because the in-person meetings are so much more effective, and I believe the members first. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl?
GRF M&C Committee met on June 9th. At the last board meeting, I commented and reported on that. The next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9:30. Thank you. Oh, and the Clubhouse One Ad Hoc Committee, the last meeting committee meeting met on July 9th, and at that last board meeting, I commented on that. And at this particular point in time, there's no second meeting scheduled for the Clubhouse One Ad Hoc Committee. Thank you.
Okay, Netta, Media?
Thank you, Sue. The Media and Communication held on July 19. We had a comment from one of our residents about the sport channel like Fox Sports Network. Why we canceled that? The answer is just because of the cost. And the highlights from the media and communication activities is the Village Breeze, Village Email Blast, weekly press release sent to Globe, manual alteration newsletter, employee newsletter went out too, golf cart parade, and GRF program to recruit board members promotion. And the other news that we have is the resident orientation went live in August. And about the other discussion that we had about the GRF has 370 no showtime subscribers. Mr. Ortiz recommended a 10% increase to cover the 4.25% increase for this year and next year. That would allow a year and a half to educate those subscribers about smart TVs, devices, and enable older devices, TVs to get streamlined services. One of our directors made a motion. The motion is passed. And we had some recommendation about the stopping the offering adult paid service, and it's passed too because it's the cost and low number of subscribers. Mr. Ortiz recommended a 5% fee increase for broadband services as costs have increased and we haven't increased our rates in years. Discussion proceed, and that's when the motion made and passed. The future agenda is focus groups for website, review and revise the village website usage policy. And the next meeting on Monday, August 16 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, are you ready? Turn your mic on. There you go.
Yes, yes. During the community activity committee, we reviewed summary of operations, all the expenses, and golf operations includes the highest revenue income, and golf green fee is the highest income, and golf operations is the second highest. That reflects everybody's going outside, outdoor. Nobody's can exercise indoors anymore. So basically what we're talking about, the facility utilization is that, of course, golf is the highest one, driving range is the second one, and the swimming is very close to the second one, almost identical. And also, let me turn around the image. Also, facility utilization. At this point, the golf is the highest one, and the swimming is the second highest one, and driving range and fitness centers are the close third. We also talked about fee increase for the next year. We've decided we've had a preliminary discussion on that and made some suggestions based on certain formula. But we are talking about, but because Equestrian Center has a different business model, Equestrian Center subcommittee will provide us their recommended fee increase on that. That will be my report on the community activities center. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. Elsie, mobility, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before that, I just had one little, it's not a correction, because I know when NADA went to the meeting, they said that new resident orientations were going to go offline, as it were. But as a matter of fact, in August, our last new resident orientation was indeed virtual. So I really don't know what the policy is going to be. Maybe it has to do with the uptick in, but anyway, it was virtual and it went just fine. The regular meeting of the Golden Rain Foundation Mobility and Vehicles Committee was held on July 28, 2021 at 9:30. The director's report gave detailed explanations of ridership data. Well, detailed ridership data. It really gives a lot of ridership data, and it's very interesting to look at the same data mixed up and looked at different ways. And the ridership is definitely going up, but because of budget concerns and COVID and staffing issues, there have been some recent, I won't say cuts in services, rearrangements in services, but those are anticipated to go back to the old routes as soon as ridership goes up a little more and we get our staff up again. We're having a little bit of trouble with that. And we talked about vehicles requested for 2022, the GRF vehicles. Oh, that was really interesting too. The vehicles that were sent to auction, he went into quite a bit of detail about who's handling the auction, what we did in the past, what we're doing now. And that's about it. The next meeting will be held on, Chris Langenauer and his staff were, as always, ready with all questions and really good responses. So October the 6th is the next meeting, and it'll be virtual at 1:30. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, I just want to correct Elsie. Elsie, on July 19, we decided we'll go online, not live in August. If they change it and they put it again for the virtual, I didn't know about that.
I know. That's what I said. I said, I know at that meeting, they said they were going to go live in August, Nada. I said that. I understand that. I
Okay,
just didn't
all
want-
right. We don't need to discuss this. Unfortunately, COVID is our life here. Okay, Reza, would you give me the Security and Community Access Committee?
No, I didn't attend that meeting, so I have no update.
Okay. Did anyone attend that meeting? All right. Netta, traffic?
Thank you, Sue. The traffic hearing committee is held on July 21st, and we had 3-member hearing. One of them, they didn't come, no show, and the fine is 100, and for the speeding ticket. And 2 of them is just they didn't actually obey stop sign, and they come and we hearing them, and we fine them for $50 and guilty. Thank you. And the next meeting is going to be August 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. Disaster preparedness, Diane?
Yes, hi. They met on the 27th of July, but unfortunately I didn't have a link to get in, and when I did, I couldn't access it. So I don't know if Juanita's here, but I know they are having a disaster earthquake preparedness today. Well, they had it from 10 till 1, until 11. So I don't know if Juanita's here.
No, Juanita's in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Did anyone else attend it?
I do have her on the attendee list if you want me to bring her over to panelist.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and bring Juanita over, and we'll go on. I'll go do the next meeting for the disaster is September 28th. And we'll go ahead now, and we'll get Juanita on. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the insurance while we get Juanita on. We are meeting every other week with our broker. We are looking at all of the insurance policies. We are trying our best to keep our cost at a reasonable amount. You can tell that it's going to be, it is unreasonable out there. Third is having to raise theirs in order to meet their requirements. We are attempting not to get as much insurance. That's why we aren't going to be fully insured. And we are working very hard to figure out ways to take care of a disaster if it were to occur. And we're looking at putting HO6s in place for everyone. The situation with the loans has been, we'll have to see what we can do about that, but I'm not sure that there's much we can do about loans. I believe it's only 12%, is that correct? That
We're working on getting those exact numbers.
we'll have the data this afternoon, but at this point it isn't. Juanita, would you give us the disaster preparedness report, please?
I don't see that she is connected to audio in any way.
Oh, she's not connected to audio as yet. Well, you can wave your hands to us from Hawaii. Oh.
Sue, about the loan, yesterday I just talked to Ryan, he's vice president of the bank, and he told me it's better don't scare the buyers for now because we didn't have enough internal conversation. And I will back to you with the more details. But please don't panic because I know that this news is shocking all the brokers and the agents and especially the buyers.
We will be trying to take care of this. Cash, go ahead then on the, Juanita, can we hear you yet?
Juanita, can we hear you yet?
Yeah.
I'm trying. I unmuted.
We hear you. We
Did
hear you.
me?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I'm back. I got back last night, but Elsie told me that it was going to be virtual today and not to come in. So I'm at home. Our big problem with disaster preparedness is we still are looking for neighborhood captains. And we've been going through the list of who used to be a neighborhood captain and contacting them by email. We have not had anywhere near the response that we would like, but we're continuing to do that. And also schedule one of our first trainings for them.
Okay, thank you very much. The next meeting will be August 30th at 1.
Yeah,
wait a
I have
second.
a comment.
Sure, September 28th, excuse me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know a couple other lenders who were sometime back interested in financing in our.
We will be discussing this in depth at the closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're ready for director's comments. Raise your hand if you want to make a comment at this time. Okay, Elsie, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that somebody eats up that lunch because it's a good one. It's fajitas. So I hope staff or somebody, I hope it doesn't go to waste. Thank you.
It won't. Okay, Reza? You're muted. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned this portal thing. Where can we find that?
The what? I'm sorry.
That for services, there is a new form. I believe you said portal.
Oh, the resident portal, right?
Yeah.
The resident portal is at the top of your, if you click on the Laguna Woods website in the right-hand corner, there it tells you to log in, and that is the portal. If you log in, your user ID is your your email address that you gave to them, and your password is your ID number, and you get onto the portal, and it'll show you all your bills, all your work orders, and a whole bunch of things that you can do on there. You can initiate work orders, you can check on the status. It's an excellent way to get your information, and everybody should be using it. On the main menu, on the main page, there is a way to get a tutorial if you need it. So you need to look at those things.
So if you want a service, you can use that page to put your request in.
Yeah, you can put your work orders in, and you get pretty much faster service than you do from the phone. It takes no wait time. Okay, Andre?
Sorry, the response you said will be 20 days. Am I correct in that?
The response, they are now servicing all work requests in less than 20 days. The long-term ones are things like water intrusion and things like that that are pulling it out further than 20 days. But almost all of the responses are being taken care of within 20 days.
The second question is regarding this NCV. Is that going to be retroactive?
No.
I believe NEDA.
No, it is not retroactive.
Okay, thank you.
Andre?
Yes, as far as that 20 days you asked them, is that calendar days or working days? Calendar days, it's 3 weeks. Working days, it's 4 weeks.
It's calendar days, I believe.
Calendar days, that's 3 weeks, right?
Right.
Okay, all right. The other issue I have is, for some reason, I'm removed from the IT subcommittee. Okay, I have to remind everybody that the IT committee is not just ERP implementation. It involves internal database management, big data analysis, user support, backup and restore, operation and monitoring, software implementation. I have to say that if you don't know, never heard of, don't know what SDLC is, you are not an IT person. You are just IT user. We have a lot of IT users in there, but we don't have IT system and management people there. So I'm asking United to reconsider that. Put me. I'm the CIO. I come from the ranks, so I know all about computer industry. So I'm asking United to reconsider, put me back into the IT committee, because that's where a lot of problems like malware, like backups, restore, those are the things that users have no clue how to handle them. A lot of rumors and misinformation out there. Only the internal people knows exactly how to do it right. Okay, that's my request. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration. Thank you. This meeting will be recessed. We will bring back the next meeting at 12:15. We'll do the closed session at 12:15.
Can we have enough time to go there, pick up our lunch?
You can come by and pick up lunch if you'd like.
Okay. I don't have lunch today, so okay. Thank you.